Three, two, one. All right, so in this episode, we're going to go through why I stopped being a supporter of police. I was a real staunch supporter of them and, had the thin blue line flag and everything. But there's a lot that I've learned recently that I'm just like, nah, this isn't right. Like, we need to literally defund the police, like, get rid of them, and we need to build a whole new system. And I'll explain why I think like this, because I have a lot of life experience, right? So my first job, right when I turned 18, I got a job as a bouncer in the strip club, right? It was like, I always thought that would be a cool job to have, be a bouncer in a strip club, see pretty ladies, maybe hook up with a few of them, I'm 18 years old, I don't give a shit. I'm just like, yeah, I want that job. First day on the job, guy says, here's an envelope. And it's one of those zippered bank envelopes. It's like a pleather kind of material and it zips. He goes, there's going to be a guy coming. Give this to him. And I'm like, okay. How am I going to know who it is? He goes, oh, you'll know. So I'm like, okay. So I put it up underneath my shirt because I know what it is. It's money. I put it up underneath my shirt, underneath my armpit, and I'm standing outside. And the sheriff's deputy pulls right up to the front door in a marked squad car, full uniform and everything, and goes, do you have something for me? I'm like, apparently I do. So pull a bag of money out of my armpit and hand it to him. He drives away, and I'm like, okay, that was weird. About 2 weeks later, my boss comes to me and says, hey, we're getting raided tonight. Take this garbage can upstairs and tell all the girls that if they don't want to go to jail for something, they need to throw it away. So I went upstairs, trash can in hand, and I'm like, anyone had anything they ain't supposed to have? The cops are coming. Throw it away. So they're throwing coke and weed and booze and whatnot in there because it was a non-drinking club. Take it outside, throw it away. Within 2 hours, the cops were swarming the place, so we had advance notice, and that's what they were paying for. They were paying for intel. So I'm like, okay, so that was my first experience with corruption in law enforcement. Then I went into armed security later on. And while doing armed security, I'm a big guy. I'm like 6'5", and at the time I was like 300 and something pounds, so I was like built, right? Man, I'll tell you what, I saw some shit in there when I was working the hoods. Like, you'd see cops, they'll park the car down at the end of the block and then walk through. And you get these people that are living here, they're already poor. Like, life already sucks. And they get home from work and they want to smoke a joint to relax. And I could I come home, I'd drink a beer or whatever, or a shot or something just to chill the fuck out. And they'll just walk through and try to catch people smoking weed. And at this time, you could do some serious time if you had enough of this plant on you. And I always thought, I was like, that's so weird. Like, you're going out of your way to look for these people. It's not like they're, dealing or anything. They're sitting on their porch smoking a J, because they worked, and then they get arrested, then they lose their job, and then it's just this cycle that keeps going. I was like, this isn't right. Like, you shouldn't go after people like that. If you're selling dope to kids, and I get that, I understand that, but these people are coming home from work just wanting to chill and relax, and you're gonna sneak around and try to bust them for what reason? So that's always bothered me. I was like, I don't really like the cops, but I understand their function. I understand they keep people safe, and I know most cops. I've done a lot of ride-alongs because for a short period of time I wanted to be a cop. But every time I do a ride-along, I see some shady shit, right? Like, I've watched cops break a guy's ankle before because he ran, like, on purpose. Like, they were chasing him through Ybor, and they finally caught up to him, and the one cop just was stomping on this guy's ankle. Like, holy shit. And, like, there's 15 cops there. Not one of them said anything. Not one of them told the guy to stop. Like, holy shit. Like, there's some serious problems within law enforcement. Then I was watching the Joe Rogan Experience. And in the Joe Rogan Experience, they had Killer Mike on. I suggest you go look at it. I think it's the How to End Poverty. I'm going to look up the video real quick so I don't get it wrong. It's like Killer Mike, End Poverty to Fix Crime, Joe Rogan. Like, look up that video, because that's the video that really made me flip the switch. And he explains how the 13th Amendment has an exemption clause. It pretty much says that they abolish slavery and involuntary servitude except for as punishment of a crime. Now, okay, so they're not prisoners then. They're slaves. The government, the North did not, the Civil War is a goddamn lie. They lied to us about the reason for the Civil War. The Civil War wasn't to abolish slavery. The Civil War was between the North that wanted to be under government control and the South that wanted it privatized. They wanted companies to be able to have slaves to produce their product. The North wanted the government to be in control of that. That blew my mind right there. And it's right there in the law. It says, except for as punishment for a crime. So that changes for me the definition of what a prisoner is. A prisoner is essentially a goddamn slave. That completely changes the dynamic, the whole thing for me. I don't think we should be worrying about, the Second Amendment as far as arguing about, like I agree with Killer Mike, we shouldn't be arguing about the right to bear arms. We should be fighting for the removal of slavery from our justice system. Because, all right, so I know a lot of people are like, okay, well, if you hurt people, you need to be taken out of society. And I agree. If you are a danger to others and others' happiness, you need to be removed. How do we do that? Well, right now, the only way we do that is we put you into government slavery. But what about all these people that, get put away for life for having a plant? The war on drugs has just, they've weaponized law enforcement. If you get out of the way in any way, shape, or form. I mean, there's so many laws. There's so many laws on the books. We're all criminals. Every one of us has done something that could send us to prison for at least a year. Whether you hit a car in a parking lot and decided to just run, or you did something weird with someone, it might be illegal. A lot of people smoke weed. That's illegal. And you're more likely to serve longer prison sentences if you're black or brown than if you're white. And that's been proven. Like they have it, just look at the contrast between a white guy that gets arrested for pot versus a black guy who gets arrested for pot. The black guy tends to serve a lot longer than the white guy. So I can see, for me, that's a benefit for me, because if I get caught with weed, I know I'm not going to serve a lot of time. But if I was black, I'd be like, this isn't fair. And I think that's what a lot of people have with the system right now, is it's not fair. The system is not fair at all, right? And we're seeing this now with these giant tech companies censoring conservatives. Is this not fair? You're letting Antifa go out there and do whatever the fuck they want and threaten people and burn down cities, and they all still got their fucking accounts, don't they? But as soon as the president goes, hey, let's have a rally, and it gets out of control. Now, I'm not, what happened at the Capitol was complete bullshit. They should not have done that, and they're going to find out real quick, because President Trump signed that law saying if you fuck shit up at the federal buildings, you get 10 years. So they're going to have to learn real quick what they did was fucked, and they're going to serve some time. I'm not 100% sure that's the right answer, because, you're going to have all these liberals, the ones that were brought up on federal charges, serving 10 years in prison. You're now going to get all these conservatives serving 10 years in prison. And if you want to see white supremacy, prison's where it's at. Because that's where all the major prison gangs are supremacy gangs. Like you have the Black Power gangs, you've got the White Power gangs. It's just like the Aryan Brotherhood is a prison gang. Like all the hardcore white supremacists are in prison. So a lot of people are about to find out what that shit really is about, because they're going to have to live it. But it's all slavery. So I'm starting to understand why they're pissed off. If they're going to be pissed off about it, they just don't have a good way of explaining it. Like, because I was listening to him, I'm like, okay, there's a lot of people pissed off, so I should probably look into it myself because I'm not understanding it by everyone's like, oh, the system's racist. And I was like, how? How is the system racist? Like, explain to me. Because I'm not black. I don't experience the same things you experience. So explain it to me what you mean by the system's racist because I don't see it. And the only one that's been able to do it was Killer Mike. And he was like, listen, this is some bullshit. And it's like, oh, holy fuck. Like, you start looking into it and you start looking at, the differences between crack and cocaine. For the longest time, if you had coke, it's a misdemeanor. But if you had crack, which is the exact same drug, just one's powder, one's rock, if you had crack on you, it's a felony. And you go for years. Well, crack was more of a black drug than a white drug. More white people, blow it up their nose, and black people like to smoke it. It's just, but they targeted one group over another, and that's blatantly racist. And they ended up changing the law because of that. But Jesus Christ, like, you start realizing that, cops are nothing more than modern day slave catchers. That's their job, is to go out and look for people breaking one of the thousands of laws that are thousands of laws. It's illegal to do almost anything. And shit that doesn't even have to do with anybody else. Like, if you want to get high, whatever reason you want to get high, you risk being turned into a slave. Because, I don't know, life's hard for you right now, and you just want to fucking sit back and get high as fuck and forget your fucking problems for 10 minutes. You should be allowed to do that if you're free. If you're not free, and we're not free, we really aren't. Because we all live under a constant threat of, you too can be a slave. That's kind of fucked, man. We can't do what we want to do. Like, if I want to go out and with my friends and smoke a J, I can't do that because I can go to prison. If I want to, take psychedelics, I can't because I can go to prison. So we're not free. And that's not hurting anybody. I can understand and be like, well, I want a new Mercedes-Benz and I want to go rob someone for it. Then, yeah, okay, you should go. There should be a punishment of some kind that removes you from the rest of us. But with this whole thing of, the cops particularly target, because I've never seen cops, and I grew up in the white ghetto, right? I grew up in a trailer park. That's the white man's ghetto. We didn't have cops coming through there, fucking with people. You know how many times I've seen people drink beer on their front porch, and you don't got cops sneaking around trying to find people drinking on their front porch to throw them in jail. But you see this in the hood. It's not fair. The system's not fair. And if it's not fair, people are going to be pissed. And I think this has gotten to the point where people are getting pissed and they're done with it. And then as I started to keep researching this and all the fucked up shit they do, I'm like, wow, like law enforcement's trash. And I know cops. I have family and friends who are cops. And I brought this to them and they're just like, it's just the way it is. I don't think the future is going to look kindly on you. Just kind of like how we don't look kindly on Nazi officers. Because at the time, they're just like, this is just how it is. This is my job. Well, your job is going to end up not looking good. And you're going to be a stain on society. And they're not bad people. They're good people. I think they really want to make everything better. They want to protect people. They want to, keep people safe. They want, people to have their freedoms and everything. But then they enforce these draconian laws. And a lot of times it's not even us voting for it. A lot of times it's the people we vote for make these laws, not in our interest, but in the government's. Well, that's a problem. That's a serious problem. There's too many laws on the books, and they target particular groups to go after those laws. I just don't agree with it. I don't agree with it at all. And I think there's going to be a major shift. I don't think it'll be like that under the Biden administration because he's a corporate sponsor. Like, he should wear a jacket like a NASCAR jacket that's, he should have a Twitter patch here and a, he's a slave to the corporate. Like, the corporate owns us right now. For the next 4 years, corporate America is what owns America. You know, all the big tech companies, the major media companies, all these lobbying groups and all this other stuff, they're the ones who own us. They own us. We're not free. Not even in the slightest sense of the word. Like, you are constantly being monitored to make sure you don't violate. Or even if you do violate, they can pick and choose which ones they want. I mean, think about this. We'll send a poor man to prison for the rest of his life for having a plant that is not harmful and makes you feel good. But we do diddly squat about Bill Clinton going to Jeffrey Epstein's island almost 24 times, most likely to fuck kids. And they have flight logs and they have all this stuff showing. Like, they just had a clip, or they just released some documents showing some of the people that went there, but they blacked out all the other names. Yeah, no. That's not right. We need to know who the fuck those people are. Why is the justice system protecting these people? Because they're rich? Because they're wealthy? Because they're powerful? Well, that just makes it to where, that just means to me that the government is interested in enslaving the poor. You know, they're going to make homelessness illegal. Well, if they make homelessness illegal, and then they take away your ability to work, so are we all just destined to become government slaves? Because, you know, I don't know. That's why I don't support law enforcement anymore. It's just, it's too broken. It's way too broken. I've seen too many things in my life where I'm just like, now it makes sense. Now it makes total sense on what's going on. You know, they are the enforcement arm of the government, and the government's job is to enslave the poor. I mean, they had inmates working for $1 an hour fighting the wildfires in California. Imagine working 10 hours and making $10, risking your life. No, I don't agree with that. And they said volunteer too. They're like, oh, they volunteered. I was like, it was either that or suck dick in the shower room. I mean, get out for a little bit. Yeah, I'll throw my life on the line. If I die, I die. Like, you know, I would expect half of them probably won't care if they live or die at this point, because their life is hell, because we've built a system that have made people's lives hell. So I agree with Black Lives Matter on that aspect. I don't like Black Lives Matter, the organization. They're Marxist communists, and I don't think that's the way to go. I think communism is the equivalent of Nazism. You know, I think if you have a swastika or the sickle and hammer, it's the same fucking thing. It's the same coin, just two different sides, right? Both sides have killed a shit ton of people. So that is not the way to go. Neither is Nazism, but that's the extreme left, the extreme right, right? The extreme right is Nazism, the extreme left is communism. And I can't get behind that. I can't get behind that at all, not even in the slightest. But we need to figure something out. We need to redo these systems because they're not right. And it's just going to keep building up and keep building up and keep building up. And eventually it's going to bust. And a lot of people are going to get hurt. And that terrifies the shit out of me. You know, I just stay home. I just keep my head down, stay the fuck up out of the way. Be like, I ain't got no loyalties to anyone anymore. I got me. I got me and my people. That's it. I ain't looking to fight no revolution. I'm not looking to get involved in some kind of war that's going on. But, yeah, no, I'm not interested in any of that. Like, I'll share my opinions, but past that, I'm not interested in being a part of any of this. So that's how I feel. You know, that's the reason why I feel like I feel. You know, and I can't back that. I can't back that. You know, you're ruining people's life just to put them into involuntary servitude for the government. Nope, won't have it. I'm not supporting that in the slightest. And until there's either severe reform, personally, I think they need to figure out something else. Like, it could be like the police, but not. Like, unless it's violent crime, you don't get taken to jail. If it's violent crime, that's totally different. But if it's not violent crime, if you had something on you or whatever, here's a fine or whatever, or we just take it. Why can't they just take it? You catch someone with weed, just take their fucking weed. Just be like, you can't have this, and you take it away. That right there would piss them off because they'd be like, well, why the fuck, that was, however much money. Well, you're not allowed to have it. Versus putting them into slavery for the rest of their life or for a good chunk of their life. No, I just don't agree with it. Not in the slightest. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't have a good outlook on the future. It's not. I don't see it going well. I think it's going to get much worse in the next 4 years. Then it'll get better. So my advice: start buying stuff to survive. Get out of the cities, because the cities is the first place it's gonna go down. Ugh. Well, we'll see, won't we? Well, until next time, guys.